Doing a video on some of our Japanese maples. I'm going to do a couple of parts to the videos to keep them short. This first video is starting with the dancing peacock, which is an Acer japonicum. It's a conifolium is another name for it, and dancing peacock. It has a pretty large leaf, almost tropical looking. Comes out really kind of pinkish red in the spring. And it is an Acer japonicum instead of an Acer palmatum, which many Japanese maples are. So the has really good fall color, like a lot of the japonicums have. And the fall color is really based on, it's really just based on the time of the year. It's not really based on how cool or warm it is. It really, it's almost a timing thing with it. So it comes out with its best color at a certain time of the year, and the colors are just amazing on it. They're orange and red and yellow. Every leaf is a little bit different. It seems like this tree's growing pretty fast for us. We got it very small, and seems kind of wiry in its growth pattern, but really beautiful. Seems like everything I've read says it gets to around maybe 12 feet tall and 10 feet high over time. This is a lemony lace, lemon lime lace. It's a dissectum Acer palmatum. And it is a very slow growing, I don't know if you would call it a dwarf. I think as time goes by it might get to 4 or 5 feet. We've had it as a liner, so we got it very small at about a foot tall, including the graft. And its color is best if you have it in full sun, if you want to keep the lighter chartreuse green dissectum leaf on it. If it's in a little more shade, it gets a little more kind of traditional dark green leaf to it. But it seems like over time, again, it's a 3 or 4 foot tall tree with 3 or 4 feet wide, with the same shape it basically has here, just like a low weeper. I don't even know if I would call it a weeper. I call it more just kind of a semi-weeping tree. Just as an aside, this is Angel Falls. Angel Falls weeping white pine. So instead of being a traditional weeping white pine that can get fairly large, this is a smaller version of that. Maybe you can get, if you can stake it up to 4 or 5 feet tall and then just let it weep, it'll weep down and get a couple of feet wide, but it doesn't get as enormous as just a typical weeping white pine, which is nice because it can stay in a pot, or you can put it in a smaller place in the garden. We just got this, so it's very small. It's only about 2 to 3 feet tall. Another one that we have that you don't see around very much is a Holy Ghost Japanese maple. This came from, I think it was Conifer Kingdom or Mendocino maples. It might have been Conifer Kingdom. And it's called Holy Ghost, but I don't see it anywhere else for sale. It was only at that one particular place, and we got it as a replacement for a tree that we got that got hung up in transport that had died. It took 10 days to get here in a box and died. And they had no more of what we had purchased, so they replaced it with the Holy Ghost. It's a ghost type maple with the variegated leaves. And this has been very slow growing for us. I think this is at least the 3 years that we've had it, and it's only still maybe a foot to 15 inches tall. And it is done well in a little bit of shade and a little bit of sun. It holds the same color through the whole year. It comes out basically this way and holds its color through the year. We haven't really seen a good fall color out of it yet, as a lot of them don't really get into the better fall colors until they get several years old, especially when they're this small. But it's been a nice little accent tree in a pot. It's an Acer palmatum. But the funny thing is, I haven't seen anybody else carry it. It's only just this one particular garden center that had it, or a online tree supplier that had it. This is the Orion Japanese maple. It's an Acer palmatum, and I believe it was developed by Talon Buchholz, which does many of the ghost series, but this is not a ghost series. This one comes out this color right here. This is some of the new growth that have recently come out, and then it fades to the, doesn't fade, but it changes to the darker color leaf here. This has been in this pot for probably at least 5 years now, and has been pretty slow growing. It's a small upright, for us it's been a small upright grower. Great color in the fall, orange and yellow in the fall. And from what I understand, if you have it in a pot, it'll stay fairly small at 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. Down here we have a Dr. Brown, which is a weeping Acer palmatum with dissected leaves. You can see why they call it a Dr. Brown. Not necessarily brown, but it's a very dark red. Maroon dark red with green highlights to the leaves. And it is a weeper that is supposed to get 5 or 6 feet wide and maybe a couple of feet tall, 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall over a long period of time, 10 to 15 years. And it had done very well. We had a shade tree, not a shade tree, but a magnolia over it for several years, and it held its color very well. And now it's, after that tree was damaged in a storm, it is out in full sun, and it is also doing very well. There's kind of some of the color of the newer growth versus the older, a little more aged growth. This is our Autumn Moon Acer Shiraswanam. And the Shiraswanam, lots of them have these less dissected leaf, and this one for us has done better on the edge of the woodland where it is just barely in some sun at the highest point of the summer, or the highest point of the sun in the summer, and in the shade the rest of the year. And it's the Autumn Moon version of the full moon maple. Basically looks like it's in fall all year long, and it has this color all year long and gets even a little more striking in the fall. So it has the red highlight over the yellowish leaves. And we've had this for going on now 12 or 14 years. And it is probably about not even 8 feet tall and about 8 feet wide and very loose, and as you can see, blows great in the wind, and it's an upright Acer palmatum, or Acer Shiraswanam. We have Olson's Frosted Strawberry that we got as a liner, so again about a foot tall when we got it with the graft, including the graft. Comes out very bright pink first thing in the spring, fades a little more to this strawberry color, and then gets to that little more what they call frosted strawberry, like in these colors here. It's been a very slow grower. I've seen different places. I mean, it really seems to be more of a dwarf. Doesn't grow very fast. So we've had it for 4 or 5 years now, and it's an Acer palmatum. Almost has kind of, again, that kind of ghosty, variegated, veined leaf. For comparison with the autumn moon, we have another Acer Shiraswanum called the Moonrise. And Moonrise is similar to the autumn moon, but the Moonrise can take full sun in our area on Cape Cod and comes out with a chartreuse green leaf with the red overtones, very similar to the autumn moon, but the new growth is bright red over the top, and all the new growth over the summer keeps popping out with the bright red and then fades to the overtones of the red over the chartreuse. And supposedly this can get 10 feet tall and 8 feet wide over 10 or 15 years. So I'm not sure if this will stay here forever or if we'll end up moving it, but the real benefit of it has that autumn moon type look, but can take the full sun in a lot of areas. This is Beni Hoshi, Beni Hoshi. It's also called Ruby Stars is the common name for it. And that is because of its star-shaped leaf. It's an Acer palmatum and a dwarf. It can get to maybe 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide in 15 or more years. Has the great ruby-colored leaf that comes out in the spring with the green veining, and turns more bronze-colored as the summer goes on, more like the colors underneath here that are not in the sun that much. But just a nice small tree that can fit in a small space, and has a nice accent against things like our bird's nest evergreens that we have around it. And it's something that's nice to have up close, where you can appreciate the veining and the change of color as the seasons go on. And I think the last one we're going to cover is the Jetala orange. Some people call it Jetala orange. And it is a kind of a semi-weeping, kind of an upright weeper that grows in a kind of a bush form. And it can get 5 or 6 feet tall over time and the same amount wide. Has new growth comes out, mostly red, pinkish red, and then fades to a more green underneath as it fades and gets out of the sun. And then in the fall, this is one of the few that has great orange color in the fall. So a little bit different than some other kind of upright weepers. And the new growth that comes out during the year over the older green continually has this red tinge to it, so it's a real standout. If everything else is green around it, it has a real nice aspect to it that makes it stand out. As you can see, like we have all green in the background, we have plumbago, and we have right now non-blooming daylilies and euonymus behind it. So just that little bit of a highlight makes it stand out amongst the other plants in the garden. So it's a nice highlight. And that is it for this version of the Japanese maple review.